Good morning. And good morning to you at home on Zoom or to anyone watching this later. We are glad you are with us. I'm going to begin this morning by lighting again a heartbreaking candle, this time for the people of Allen, Texas, and for the tragedy that took place there. I am frankly tired of lighting these candles. I want to welcome back Richard Hyman. Would you stand? As our guest conductor this morning, many of you, but not all of you, know that he was our music director for 21 years. He told me this morning he is the longest serving staff person at UUFH, and we are delighted to have you here with Dr. J and the choir this morning, and that's the last time you're going to applaud until the end of the service for the music, unless you just are so blown away that you have to. And Richard, you agree, right? Right, since this is a worship service, not a performance. Dr. the Reverend William Sloane Coffin, who some of you may remember from the 1960s and 70s, was the minister at the Riverside Church in New York City. And he said that the role of worship was to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. We need to do both in order to transform ourselves personally and as a community. I know because I've heard that last week was challenging for some of you. I also got a lot of very positive feedback about last week. But today we're going to be doing comforting as we investigate and talk about the 23rd Psalms. Before our opening words, I'm going to use this opportunity to ask each of you who have been here for some time to think about volunteering to help out in worship. We need 6 congregants to offer lay-led services this summer while I'm away. The tech team needs a few more volunteers, and I've been told if you can run a Zoom meeting, you can help us on tech. And I am looking for a few more people for next year to serve as worship associates about every 6 weeks. So if you would see Jim Monnier or me after the service, or send us an email if you can help us out in one of those roles. So today we are going to be examining the lessons of the 23rd Psalm. I think this is the first totally biblically based service I've done with you. There may be some others next year. But to remind you, and if you can say it with me if you like, the opening words are the King James Version of the 23rd Psalm. I'm guessing some of you have these words in your heart. So if you would join me in. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord together. Join us in worshiping together this morning. Please rise as you are able in body or in spirit, and we will sing Comfort Me from the Teal hymnal, the 5 verses.
time in our service for the lighting of our chalice, the symbol of our faith. I'd like to remind those who are with us at home to please light your chalices with us. Please join us, Lily DeRazio, who will help us light the chalice this morning. Flame of fire, spark of the universe that warmed our ancestral hearth, agent of life and death, symbol of truth and freedom, we strive to understand ourselves and our earthly home. Thank you, Lily. Good morning and welcome. My name is Karen Mazzata, and my pronouns are she and her. We have two special Mother's Day announcements. Mother's Day, for those who haven't gotten your gifts yet, is next Sunday. Join us for a special Mother's Day Labyrinth this Friday, May 12th at 7:30 p.m. here. Please come to honor, remember, or heal as needed. RSVP is appreciated to Joanne Policetti, and walk-ins are welcome. And next Sunday, Mother's Day, we will be honoring the parents of all genders with a special video. We did this last year, so if you provided a photo last year, you do not need to send it again. But if you have a photo that you'd like to share, a mother with her children, a special father, or any gender parent, and didn't provide it last year, please send it to Sandra at the office at UUFH.org by Tuesday, May 9th at 5 p.m., and we'll incorporate it in that video. I'm sure it'll be beautiful and memorable. This Saturday is our UUFH talent show. It's not too late to sign up to share your talents with our fellowship family and friends. And if you are thinking about becoming a UUFH member, there is still time to participate in next Sunday's new member recognition. For all the details about all these announcements, please see this week's flash. And now, let us join in singing our affirmation. The words are on the screen.
You all some of our newer folks may not know that Richard and Maria wrote that lovely piece that we sing every other week. So what a pleasure, Richard, to hear you. This is the time in our service where we invite you to come forward or go to the back and light a candle for a joy or a concern in your heart. Sue, will you join me up here? Jerry, will you join me, please? Jerry from the Pastoral Care Committee will be holding a basket with some cards. If you didn't write something in advance, I do encourage you to write in advance something you would like to share with the congregation that we can read aloud. You may come forward now. Candle for Andy Mazer, who is recovering from pancreatic cancer, and Bob Mazer, recovering from jaw cancer. A candle for Sharon Garfinkel for a speedy recovery. A prayer for successful surgery for recovery for Dan and his family. Happy birthday to Graham Otten. We love you. Happy birthday, Graham. We do love you. A joy, Lily rocked her first NYSSMA and won a special artistry award at her last dance competition of the year. So go, Lily. A joy for the 65 people who walked for peace yesterday as part of the World Labyrinth Day, with thanks to the Long Island Beltane Festival for hosting it. This is for Scott from Lila to say that she is hoping they feel better. And I also light a candle this morning for All Souls Pasadena, who is having worship under threat of threats this morning. So join me, please, in some quiet moments of meditation, prayer, or your own personal reflection. Spirit of life and love, we come to say, comfort us. Comfort us when the world seems impossibly hard, when the news continues to frighten us, to bring us to the reality of violence and hate and discrimination and war. Comfort us as we wait for the news of a diagnosis, as loved ones struggle with cancer and other illnesses. Comfort us as we recover from accidents that we didn't think could possibly happen. Comfort us as we go through our days with troubles and mental illnesses and fears and a sense that sometimes the world just seems too much. And yet comfort us also with thoughts of hope on this beautiful spring day. Let us remember that there is always something to celebrate. The birthday of one among us, the achievement of one of our children, the days to make our days glad because we have today. To know that in all the days of our life, in all the days of our head, we can reach deep down for gratitude for what is most simple, or gratitude for the very being, and thanks for this existence, this time we get to be together. Fill our hearts with hope and comfort in all the days ahead. And so may it be. Amen.
I would like to invite the children and youth up for our time for all ages. And I'm standing in the right spot again, so if you guys could be on that side of me, it would be helpful. Perfect. All right. So you guys were part of the opening reading. You read the 23rd Psalm out loud. First of all, what is a psalm? So the Psalms are a part of the Bible that are a series of prayers. And, you know, as you use, we don't all come together over our belief around God. We don't necessarily share a belief about God. That's not the thing that brings us together. And I'll get to what brings us together, but I read that psalm over and over and over and over again, preparing for today. And having grown up a UU, I don't always know what to do with Bible verses or, you know, this psalm. I found it a little challenging. So, you know, I did a lot of research, and, you know, this psalm is all about fear. It's about, what do you look to when you're afraid? And the answer given in the psalm is God. But I know you all. I know some of you are atheists. I know we have a bunch of humanists here. I know we have agnostics. We have pagans. We have Jewish UUs. The list goes on. And so I want you to think about, everybody, the last time you were afraid. I'm not going to ask you to share it, but just think about the last time you were afraid, or a time that you were afraid. Okay? Now, what helped you? And this I am going to ask you to answer. What helped you when you were afraid? Okay. Millie.
A warm hug from my mom and dad.
A warm hug.
My dad.
Your dad. Anybody else? Yeah, Lily.
My friends.
Your friends. I'm seeing a theme here. Oh, Millie.
Knowing that somebody's around you and they're telling you it's okay.
Yeah, so it seems we're turning to the people we love, right? Does anybody else have any thoughts on this? You know, another thought that I have is sometimes when I feel afraid, I think, okay, I can trust myself. I can trust that I can get through this. So that's self-love, right? So sometimes we turn to mom and dad. Sometimes we remind ourselves that we're capable of getting through things, and we've gotten through things in the past. Sometimes we just need a warm hug. So one thing that brings UUs together is that UUism is founded on this idea of love being at the core of everything. Whether you believe in God, whether you're not sure, you know, I think the wisdom we can take out of this psalm is the idea of love. That we can find love in many places, and when we're scared, looking for that love and finding that love. So, thank you guys. And now please join me in singing our children and youth to their RE classes.
Today, we are commissioning our security team to ensure the safety and security of our congregation and its members. Each week, 3 members of this team are on duty, and you'll know them because they're wearing their name tags in blue rather than in white. One person will be here in the main hall, one in our entranceways, and one will be walking around the parking lot. We are so grateful for their willingness to serve and their commitment to keeping us safe. And so will Steve, Jason, Terry, Michael, Bryce, Lee, Graham, David, and John come forward. Line up here. I just cracked myself up because one of the things what just came into my head is, which one of these things is not like the other? So, to get serious here, security team, as you take on this important responsibility, please know that you have our support and our gratitude. You have volunteered to protect our community, and we thank you for your service. We trust in your training, your expertise, and your dedication to this community. My question for you, and you will say we will if you accept the charge, is will you, the security team of this congregation, pledge to fulfill your duty to protect and serve our community with integrity, professionalism, and compassion?
We will.
And so a question to you all, congregation, will you pledge to support our security team, and will you follow their direction in the event of an emergency? So may you, our security team, be guided by wisdom, strength, and courage as you carry out your duties. May you be blessed with the knowledge that you are making a difference and that your efforts are deeply appreciated. May your efforts bring peace and security to our community. May nothing evil cross this door. Amen. Together, my friends, we work to ensure the safety of this community. Let us work hand in hand with this security team to create a secure and safe environment for all to be welcome and come through our doors. Thank you for your service. And now you can clap.
Each month, we split the weekly collection with a local nonprofit or charity. In May, we're lifting up our very own Grow to Give Garden, which is celebrating its 11th year of service. Quite amazing. We use this year's split plate donation to complete the new shed on its 8th planting bed, as well as the addition of native pollinator plants to the runway garden, which starts at the beehive corner and runs southward for more than 50 feet. I debated whether or not I would share all that, but I thought it was worth noting. So you should also take the time when you come into the fellowship to go back there, because I have seen it start small, and it's quite amazing and beautiful. That path for the runway is the direct path to the honeybees. It's the path that they take when they're returning to their hive. So the Grow to Give Garden's intention is to improve the ability and productivity of fellowship members who are not only growing organic produce for donation to local food pantries, but doing so in a way that gives back ecologically to the environment and the honeybees. On that note, also, I want to point out that the shed raising project associated with this has erected the floor, the 4 walls, and a window. And tomorrow at 9 a.m., the team is inviting volunteers, if you can, to help add the roof and siding. And if you can do that, please bring work gloves and boots. That's from the Grow to Give Garden Committee just this morning. So I'm so proud of our amazing accomplishments with this group, and please give as generously as you're able. What did I forget?
Thank you, choir. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Jay. My colleague, Rabbi Harold Kushner, died this week at the age of 88. You may recognize that name. He wrote a book called When Bad Things Happen to Good People that was very popular in the 70s and 80s. I had the good fortune to have had the opportunity to spend time with Rabbi Kushner at conferences over the years and had many dinners with him. And in 2003, he sent me a book he wrote called The Lord is My Shepherd, Healing Wisdom from the 23rd Psalm. Rabbi Kushner wrote, quote, "In a mere 57 words of Hebrew, the author of the 23rd Psalm gives us an entire theology, a more practical theology than we can find in other books. He teaches us to look at the world and see it as God would have us see it. If we are anxious, the Psalm gives us courage and we can overcome our fears. If we are grieving, it offers us comfort and we find our way through the valley of the shadow. If our lives are embittered by unpleasant people, it teaches us how to deal with them. If the world threatens to wear us down, the Psalm guides us to replenish our souls. If we are obsessed with what we lack, it teaches gratitude for what we have." I love this Psalm. It is the only one of the Psalms that I have memorized, and I do use it when I'm afraid, primarily during turbulence on airplanes. But I want you to know that I love the Bible. I'm not sure you all know that I've written a book about meditations on what I call the good news of the Bible. I know there is some allergy to the Bible here, but I hope to encourage you to look deeper into it. So we're going to talk specifically about the 23rd Psalm today, but I'm actually motivated after the Time for All Ages. I'm going to do a Bible sermon beginning of next year to talk about what I think are the truth stories, as we've talked about on holidays, and what I think the Bible can talk to us about today. So when you Google, if you go home and you Google the 23rd Psalm, in addition to the King James Version we read together and the Bobby McFerrin version you just heard read to you, there are also more than 24 different Bible translations. There are also feminist versions of it, which I think Bobby McFerrin's his tribute to his mother falls into. There are versions in plain English. For example, he makes me a 6-course dinner in front of people who don't like me. And there's even a rap version. So I'm going to read you that one. I'm not going to rap it because that would just be too hard for me. But here are the words for that. "The Lord is all that I need for nothing. He allows me to chill. He keeps me from being heated and allows me to breathe easy. He guides my life so I can represent and give shout-outs in his name. And though I walk through the hood of death, I don't back down, for you have my back. The fact that you have me covered allows me to chill. You provide me with backup in front of my player haters and know that I am a bailer and life is always fat. I fall back in the crib for the rest of my life." So it makes me wonder, what is it about this psalm that makes it resonate to so many people of so many different kinds for so many centuries? And I think it's because, as Danielle inferred, that it is about our deep need for comfort in this troubled world. And surely we today still need that kind of comfort. So we're going to look at some of the lines in depth for a few minutes. "The Lord is my shepherd." So in most of the Psalms, God is called Eloheinu, which means king. There's only one other Psalm, Psalm 80, that calls God a shepherd. And I think even today in 21st century America, that image can be deeply comforting, even though most of us have never seen a shepherd tending a flock except in a painting. But I think there's something about that image of a beneficence that watches over us, keeps us safe, removed from us, but gently guiding and providing for us, that resonates. Many years ago, probably 30, I spent a week on a farm in France where I worked as a shepherd with a herd of goats. I tried to find a picture of that, but I couldn't. So what we learned to do was that you move the goats from their pens in the town to the hillside. And our task during the day was to simply watch and make sure none of the goats wandered off on their own. At the end of the day, our job was to round them up and lead them back into the village. And when we got them to the hills, the goats spread out all over, and we sat under a tree, keeping eye on them. Our only purpose was to assure their safety. A couple of times one of them would start wandering off, so you'd go up to them and you'd kind of corral them back in. And then we were to bring them back to the village at the end of the evening. The goats, as the psalm says, did not want for anything. They had the sun, they had the grass, they had each other. And as we sat in the sun with our books and our homemade bread and our homemade goat cheese, neither did we. I shall not want. Think about that. I shall not want. What a powerful antidote to basic human desire. Wanting is deep wired inside of us for food, for shelter, but also for love, for companionship, for appreciation, for opportunities. That deep wired wanting is why Buddhism addresses non-attachment as the way to avoid suffering. Have you ever heard this quote, which is attributed to all sorts of people on the internet, so I have no idea who wrote it, but happiness is not getting what you want, it's wanting what you have. Wanting what you have. The psalmist promises that we will have our soul restored. Restoreth my soul. Who among us has not had a dark night of the soul, where our tortured thoughts keep us up, worrying about what's happened, what we will do next, how we will discern the best choice for us, our decision? 2 o'clock a.m. is when I do most of my worrying about you. Some of you may have that experience in your life. 3, someone went 3. The psalm suggests it's at those times we turn to our higher power, our inner voice, our best self, for those of you who are theists, God, if you like, for guidance. And that we know with time, our discomfort, our uneasiness will pass. Our soul can be restored. The promise of comfort continues in the next line of the psalm. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Interestingly, the psalm, if it was translated correctly from the Hebrew, would have said, though I walk through the deep darkness. It was the King James translator who made it the valley of the death. The psalmist who wrote the psalm was talking about the fears humans have actually of being in the dark. But the King James translator extended it to our universal fear of mortality. The 23rd Psalm acknowledges that fear of death, yet it makes 2 promises. First, it says, we walk through the valley of the shadow of death. So we need not be paralyzed by the idea of our own mortality, but we can be motivated to live well because of it. As I tell you often, life is not a dress rehearsal. The second, though, is the promise, thou art with me. We are not alone. And the children beautifully told you that, right, this morning? That when they were afraid, they turned to their parents, to their friends, to their teachers. For the theists, the message is that God is always with us. I remember a time when one of my family members was terribly ill, and I said to a humanist minister colleague of mine, I am so angry with God right now. And this humanist minister, who did not believe in God, said to me, Debra, God didn't cause this suffering. God is suffering with you. And that helped me in that moment. And for those of us who don't believe in a God, the psalmist's message really is that we are never alone, that others will comfort us if we seek them out. The message of those verses in Psalm 23 and Rabbi Kushner's words is, quote, when bad things happen to you, the challenge is not to explain them, to justify them, or even to accept them. The challenge is to survive them and to go on living. And I look at you as I've come to know and love you, and I know some of you know this really well. The conclusion of the 23rd Psalm, however, is hope. It's hope and thanksgiving. My cup runneth over. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. This psalmist, unlike some of the other psalmists, this psalmist is an optimist. Despite mortality, despite the woes and the difficulties we struggle with, we have blessings, don't we? If we only have eyes to see them. Gratitude for your blessings is fundamentally a spiritual task, even when, maybe especially when, life is hard. Can we let the daily miracles be the cup that overflows, that you awoke today at all, that we are here, that there are people who love us, that there are people right here who are glad to see you, that there'll be coffee for you after the service. So what might the Psalm 23 offer you? So let me encourage you to think about this week. Who are your shepherds? Who are the people you can count on? What would it mean for you not to want? Do you take time each day to be grateful, to celebrate how your cup runneth over? After spending time on the Psalm 23 and all of those various variations, I was moved to write an inclusive, non-theistic Unitarian Universalist version. It's a little bit of a work in progress, and you might write yours differently, but here's what I came up with. Spirit of all that is holy, help me let go of wanting. Bring me to beautiful places to enjoy creation. Restore my sense of peace. Comfort me. Guide me to know what is right. Though I am aware of my mortality, I am not afraid, for the Spirit of life is with me, comforting me, sharing my pain. When people attack or scare me, help me feel compassion for them first. My cup runs over. I am grateful and fulfilled. This life is a good life, and I am grateful for it. Amen. So may it be, my friends. And will you rise in body or spirit and join us in singing 3 verses from We'll Build a Land, which is also biblically based on the book from quotations from the book of Amos. Let justice roll down like mighty waters. May we remember these words, adapted for Unitarian Universalists from the Unity Prayer. May the light of love surround us. May love enfold us. May the power of love protect us. Love watches over us. Wherever we are, love is, and all shall be well. My friends, go in peace. May our real service begin. The choir is going to offer us the postlude.
very special thank you to Richard Hyman, a guest music director. It's been a delight having you here today and seeing you. We invite the entire congregation, and especially new members and newcomers, to stop and greet Reverend Debra at the back of the main hall. And we also encourage everyone to join us in the social hall for conversation and coffee. For those at home, have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us.